You are now tuned in to the Ladies Love Hip Hop podcast with your host, Summer Willow. Hello, and welcome to the show. I am your host, Summer Willow, and this is the Ladies Love Hip Hop podcast. Thank you for listening, liking, and sharing on all platforms below. Tell a friend to tell a friend, okay? Before I start with my interview today, I would like to give a special shout out to the Black Tribbles, the Amalgam Philly team, and Toya Haynes, and all the women across the globe who are podcasters. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, the Respect podcast had to be canceled. So we are not able to gather as women, as one, together with the support of our men, of course, to talk about our podcast, promote our podcast, and just, fellowship. So I miss all of you. I wore my Respect the podcast t-shirt today in memory of our illustrious event. But I look forward to seeing everyone next year. So peace to you. So now, per usual, I am back with another interview with an MC that truly deserves a pallet of flowers, like a whole barrel of flowers. This MC is one of my favorite, Brooklyn born, gave us hits, classics, and pretty much, you know how I do. I'm not going to ask all the typical questions, but we want to get into the mind of this amazing artist. So without further ado, you see him making his coffee and eating his breakfast, Mr. OC. What's up? Welcome, my friend.
Hey, what's going on, Summer?
Man, I am blessed. I'm happy to be here. Happy to see you. How you
Same
feeling?
Here. I'm okay. No complaints so far.
No complaints. You look great.
You too.
Thank you.
One second, let me get my coffee. You can hear me,
Get
right?
your coffee. Yes, I can hear you.
I'm communicating with you, sis.
It's all real. Listen, we are here. I know that all of our viewers are excited to hear from you today. So get your coffee, have a seat. We're here.
That's what's up. I'm ready.
You ready?
Yes,
all right.
yes, done.
So my first question before we even get into the interview is, how are you doing during this pandemic?
I'm good.
Doing good?
I moved out of New York sometime last year, so I felt something coming, but I didn't know it was this.
Really?
But I thought it was like a personal journey thing, but it turned out to be a world journey thing that we going through. So I listened to my intuition and got up out of Dodge, and now I'm down south somewhere.
Good for you. In peace.
Yeah.
In peace, happiness, introspection.
Yes.
I mean, that's what we all actually ended up doing anyway because of this quarantine. I always say this was one of the greatest things that could have happened. Mm-hmm. In all of the tragedy, it is forcing us to hear ourselves and to see ourselves for what we are. And if you're so inclined to make some changes. So
exactly.
I feel like a better me right now, honestly.
Yeah. I'm in transition, and when I say in transition, like I told you, I never listened to my intuition too tough. I always say when you're young, you don't think about your mortality. So you're not thinking about dying, getting sick, none of that. Being broke, you only think about being up here when you're younger. Mm-hmm. And I said, we still young. I'm 49, but we still young. We're a different generation. I told my pops, you ain't look this good at 49. You know what I'm saying? Like, we a different breed from my parents. And I tell the younger people that too, like, shit, we look your age.
Absolutely.
Y'all gotta
it's an awakening.
Huh?
It's an awakening. our eyes are open to things that our parents, either not all of our parents, because a lot of our parents were, you know, with it, but a lot of our parents were just kind of conditioned and moving through life without questioning. Yeah.
You know, it's like the black or the white Picasso Jesus on the wall.
Right.
I ain't never dig that. You know, no disrespect to anybody, but I knew something in personally, I wasn't feeling that as a kid. You know what I'm saying? But I questioned it. My grandmother popped me.
Right, like, never mind.
You know, but it's like grandma, you know, thinking about it now, like she popped me because she couldn't deal with the fact that it's not correct, but that's the cycle.
That's the cycle. Even that pop was the cycle.
Yeah.
It wasn't that she didn't agree with you even, you know, in some way. It was just like programming. It was just programming.
Like,
and it's okay.
Somebody the truth and they don't, it's like they still fight you.
I go through that with my family all the time. I mean, I was the one during Thanksgiving or whatever they want to call it, Indigenous Peoples Day. But I was the one where I was like, why doesn't our prayer include Native Americans? Why doesn't our prayer include, you know, praying for them and praying for their peace of mind during these times? Why aren't we doing something for them? Not that other people in this country aren't hungry, and, you know, I feed people every year, but I'm like, let's talk about what this day is really about, and why are we so celebratory and not in some sort of mourning or paying salute to someone? Yeah,
I mean,
I was banned from all dinners. Okay, banned from all dinners.
Let's be honest. It was murder. You know, other way around. We grown now, so we can say what we want. We won't disrespect our parents, but it was murder. Like, and we was here too. We was probably here before everybody.
Everybody.
So, you know, that's another topic.
Yep.
But you know, like I said, it's just like the Picasso on the wall of Christ, and it's just like, I ain't feeling that.
So then let's jump into my very first foundational question, because just talking to you and, you know, listening to your interviews, listening to your music, I can hear and feel that you have this very strong why. You have this burning, you have this thing, and it causes you to say the things that you say on records, right? What is it, what from your foundation, or maybe there's a moment, a defining moment in your life as a youngster that started to mold what is now, you know, OC?
Well, I didn't finish high school, so I never been to college. I grew up in a 2-parent household, so it ain't like I didn't have no foundation. I did. You know, I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. I grew up in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and Jamaica Queens. This is how the music thing connects. Just to give you a rundown, like, you know, a short list of a short version of it. You know, I moved to Jamaica Queens in 84, 85. A guy named Farrell lived across the street from me in Jamaica Queens. And that's where my musical roots in the business started, so to speak. And
how so?
When I moved to Jamaica, I mean, I was always into music as a kid because my mom was a singer. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we black shit. We grew up around listening to music.
Absolutely.
You know, exactly. You know, our parents, let's keep it 100. Our parents listen to music, they party, play spades, whatever. You know, some people, parents is Black Panthers, involved with the party. Some people hustle, you know, but I grew up around music. Music and conscious, so to speak, because I'm a 70s baby. You know, and March lived across the street from me. You know, dude always gave me jewels and not even know it, because he's not the one that sits there and preaches to you. So, you know, I grew up out there, going back and forth between Queens and Brooklyn, you know, up until I was an adult. So that's my foundation. You know, I just moved out of New York after being around the planet 100 times. Never left New York. That's a cycle in itself as well. When you don't leave your surroundings, or you're afraid to leave your surroundings because you feel like it ain't gonna work nowhere else. And that's just how I move, you know what I'm saying? But I'm learning now as an adult at 49 to listen. I didn't listen before.
Well, you know what? I have a different opinion about you. Like that, and we always have like our thoughts about who we are, and then there's what other people see.
What's your opinion about me?
My opinion, though, is that even though you may have had, like we all did, had these barriers to, you know, just kind of living your fullest life, and also maybe expressing yourself or being more of yourself in your environment, your words, though, your words spoke to culture, to intelligence, to major thought processes that somebody who was stuck in their environment, truly stuck here, because this is where you're stuck. It's not really about the physical.
Right.
You weren't stuck. You were way ahead of your time.
And I didn't know it.
And you didn't know it.
Most of us don't know it. See, that's what we all have in common. Yeah. Most of us don't know it. And some of us are afraid or feel like we're going to be a punk if we reveal it to our friends. Or, you know, I was that all day. Like, you know what I'm saying? I knew I was smart as a kid. I knew I was smart as a teenager, but, you know, I say all these things to say it's what made me who I am. So I didn't run from it. It just, put it like this. I tell people I rap how I talk. So what you hearing me say right now is how I talk on records. It's no difference.
When you spit that first rhyme, not the first one, but that one where you're like, all right, this is me, I got this. Did your friends and the people around you that heard it think it was next level?
Nobody knew. I didn't tell nobody that I was trying to rap. I was DJing in the beginning. You know, my pops brought me 1200 since as a teenager, as a preteen. And you know, I done been involved with the Park Jam when I was a kid in Brooklyn. I've seen block parties, I've been involved with Park Jams and stuff like that. So, like I said, I was involved with the music from day one. You know, King Tim III. I heard the record when I was a child at a block party. And you know, to fast forward though, I was DJing. And I stayed quiet about the writing and the rapping. I don't know, I felt I couldn't do it or people would laugh at me. So I kept it to myself. Until, you know, the Jamaica Queens inception, living out there and being around March. March is a big sports dude. So I used to go to the park with him, watch him play baseball. Sometimes I'd be involved, play stickball, play football. And then he told me about what he do. And I was like, word. And that's what really got my whole thing flowing. Varro and Prince got me flowing as far as wanting to really do it professionally.
So when was your first, I don't know, battle or?
It was, see, we didn't, everybody, this is a misconception too. People think everybody go through those, like, not to be jumping all over the place.
No,
but,
do you?
AG and Finesse was, you know, they part of my crew.
Shouts to, yes, DITC.
They're battling C's. Like, I think A battled DMX. Like, these guys were really battle tested. Me, I had the mystique. Once I came into it, people just assumed I battled or, you know, I was on the front, and I wasn't, because I was quiet about it.
You were like in the arsenal.
Yeah, I just stayed. When people rapped in front of me in high school, I stayed quiet.
Okay.
In the lunchroom, I stayed quiet. In a circle,
I cannot believe that.
Yeah, because I was soaking up game. I didn't know it at the time, but I was like, he's, you know, and my mom probably at that moment, he's whack, he's all right. I definitely get in his ass, you know.
Sizing him up.
That's something I wouldn't say, or I'll say it this way. And all those things taught me, being around people, you know. Nas was the same way though. Nas ain't rap around people. You understand? Like, you know, Malcolm X didn't know he was gonna be Malcolm X. He was Malcolm Little.
Truth.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know. So I really didn't. I don't have no time point, place where I was like, I'm a rap now. It was just like when I got around these guys, I was still DJing. They didn't know. I just hung around them, and I stayed quiet around them. I was a fly on the wall with Pharaoh and Prince. You know,
that's
I was
way to
there.
be.
It makes sense now, right? Them dudes taught me without actually showing me how to trace.
Yep.
Because I traced their styles, and they used to tell me when I did open up to, yo, you're not supposed to sound like us. And I used to get upset with them, you know, and Prince Poe voices his opinion more than March. March is real quiet. He's like an introvert to the third power. And I used to get upset, but it made sense once I did. They invited me on their album because I just soaked up game. I went and did my own demos, but I always stayed around them. You know, I was around them when they was writing for Houdini. I was around them when they was doing stuff like that. You know, they was signed to Hollywood. To Atlantic Records. You know, prior to DOS Effects and all these other groups and all these people that turn out to be legends at the end of the day. And they taught me everything. They taught me everything.
Is it safe to say that this was what you chose as a career, or did you have some other idea of what you would be doing?
I know I'll be involved with music.
Okay.
I know it chose me. It definitely chose me because, like I said, as a child, 5, 6, 7 years old, literally, I was in, you know, they would throw the block parties on my block.
Hell yeah.
Or, you know, a park jam, I would troop with the older guys to another block, or, you know, another area where they had, you know, wherever the parks was and the music was in the park. As a kid, I was doing this in Brooklyn. You know, I was between 5 and 7 years old. So I seen the ass kicker speakers. I seen the 20 speakers stacked on each other. I seen all that. And,
that was a vibe.
It was a whole different vibe, you know. And I knew I was going to be involved from day one.
Many of the people that I've interviewed, and anybody that I interview, I consider to be, you know, top tier, genius, successful in their own right. Like I love music. You know, I'm a classically trained violinist. I play the bass. You know, like I love music. And
see, you're a musician.
I love music. My father was a musician.
You're a musician.
Absolutely, a rock musician, a rock guitarist. Mm-hmm. So like music is like, if you can excel at it, there was something in you as a child. And I'm saying all that to say, most of the people that I interview have these stories about 5 years old, 7 years old, you know, these really early stories where most people will forget what they were doing at that time. And it's always about, like, I DJ'd at my elementary school at 7. You know, I was in a park rhyming at 6. It's like, what are you talking about? But it was like you said, it chose you.
Right.
It's like this magnetic music in itself is a force. It's spiritual.
Right.
And it
pulled
you.
Definitely.
It pulled you in the right direction. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it taught me a lot of things. It taught me humility. It taught me a lot of things, man. And it taught me defeat.
Business?
The business part, I don't think none of us got right yet.
That's like the reparations inside of the reparations.
Yeah, it's inside of the reparations.
Inside of the reparations.
It's,
yes.
They done stole so much from us. It's no repaying us. It's just no amount. It's no dollar amount to come up with. But
from the actual mechanics to the culture, to yeah, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. This planet moves on our rhythm.
Hello.
I don't care who get mad at. I don't care what race, religion, color, creed. This planet moves on. When I say my rhythm, our rhythm, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And it's nothing radical, crazy, racist, bigot, none of that about it. It just is what it is. It's facts.
Facts. So you're in this realm of music, kind of connected to this group of people that we now consider, right, the underground, or those who kind of created the classic era of hip hop. Let's move along. DITC. I love Lord Finesse. I love AZ. I know Primo was a part of that clique.
Nah, Primo is digging.
Right. So like all of these folks are, to me, like here, like way up here. Tell me about that, like, first wave and how you started to interact with these cats and where you fit in.
I told you, you don't believe me. I'm messing with you, but you don't believe me. I was on the very first Source tour with Pharaoh and Prince, and that's how I met Lord Finesse. And I think he had Buck Wow, which is another member of Digging, on the tour for a few dates. So that's how me and Buck interacted. And Buck could tell you, or it's public record, that I was running a record called When They Reminisce, when it came out, over and over and over on the tour bus. Buck was like,
listen,
come on, man, it's dope, but stop. And that's where my history starts with DITC. I met Finesse and Buck on that tour, and we've been glued ever since.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Well, you're all cut from that cloth. Musically, I feel like they're a translation from the production standpoint. You're related, like.
Yeah, nah, I mean,
Yeah.
People don't understand. It's a production crew. It was a production crew first. So it's Diamond D and Showbiz who started DITC, and Lord Finesse. Diamond D, Lord Finesse, Fat Joe, and Showbiz grew up in the same project. Buck grew up across town. AG grew up across town. I grew up downtown. Al grew up in Harlem. And it was a production team first that morphed into them producing one of the first Digging Members album, which was Lord Finesse's album, which Primo Showbiz was involved with, and Diamond. And that's where the inception of the MC comes in at, with DITC with Lord Finesse. And then I think AG, Show and AG afterwards. Yeah, Show and AG or Diamond afterwards. And then Diamond put Fat Joe on, and history it's hit the rest.
Craziness. That's craziness.
What I gotta remind people though sometimes of is 85%. I'll say 70, just because I don't feel like arguing with people. 70% of the hip hop that came out of the 90s, as far as production, was us.
Yeah. And it was,
I don't know,
audibly, you could tell.
Yeah. 70% of the music that came out in the 90s, Buck, Showbiz, Diamond, and Finesse produced it.
Hell yeah.
Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, a trifecta that people always make the trifecta. We got that sold up.
Y'all wrap that up with a bow. With a bow.
So I don't know if you ever seen the digging studio, but our plaques. Show is the one that puts the pictures up, but the plaques wrap around the whole studio. Like, it's about 200 plaques on the wall. Like, I'm like, yo, do you understand
the magnitude?
Finesse was involved with Ready to Die.
Classics.
You understand?
That wasn't just a classic. That was like a whole new sound. That was a whole another branch to hip hop. Like, that was a whole sound.
He ended the album. Like, the beginning and the ending of an album is important. Finesse ended the album with Suicidal Thoughts. Finesse is one of the first hitmen for Puff, for Bad Boy. People say Buck. I'm like, no, it was Finesse. Finesse was there first. Diamond is on.
Diamond is that dude. Seller. He's that dude.
Diamond's on this 30 million seller in the late 90s, which is the Fugees, The Score. He produced the title track, The Score. I'm like, yo, Finesse is on Chronic 2001, besides Biggie. And then you got, who am I missing? Oh, Jay-Z. Buck is on multiple, like, I'm like, yo, half of the stuff that came out in the 90s, my circle produced.
Absolutely.
And people don't understand that. I'm like, the shit you was dancing to in the club, my crew produced it.
Yeah, you like heard it in its inception.
Yeah, I was in the clubs dancing myself too.
I know, right? Dancing your own shit.
I'm like, besides, and I'm a part of that. I don't care. I'm a writer. I'm a producer in that sense. But I'm part of DITC. So if you call it shit, I'm still a part of that. If you call it sugar, I'm a part of that.
And the brotherhood, that's one thing that I know when I first started this podcast, Ladies Love Hip Hop, they thought it was going to be like just about ladies in hip hop. And while I'm all about my sisters, and I hate that the separation is there, but it's always going to be there. There's nothing that we do about it, and I don't want to do anything about it.
Right.
What I'd rather do is just lift up the women that I bang with. But when I started this, I realized that there were small circles of the female camaraderie in hip hop. But you know, it's a man's world. You guys have this brotherhood that, specifically DITC. When I look at old videos, like I miss the old videos, like the real videos.
Me too.
You know, a true video.
Right.
Y'all videos were like kind of watching a brotherhood grow up.
Right.
And just see everybody kind of branch off and, you know, find success here, find success there.
Right.
But I loved the crew love on the albums.
Right.
And that's something that you guys kind of coined, especially when you talk about how an album was put together. You talk about the title track and the exit track.
Yeah.
There was a lot of thought into you guys' projects.
Yeah.
And you know, from the skits, I miss good skits. I
still do it.
I know. I love it. I love it. But when you drop Word Life, and when I was in school, I had just graduated from high school. And I remember in college, as a freshman, Go Ahead, right?
Right.
We didn't know what we was listening to half the time, right? When you get older and you look back and you talk about how hip hop is the soundtrack of the world. We had our white history teacher singing Go Ahead with us in class because there was a dude in our class who went through the same thing. And we're singing it and the girl was in the class, right?
Right.
And we're singing the song and the teacher's like, yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, how is it that you can deny hip hop and this lyricism? So my teacher actually asked us, who sings that song? Gave him your album, CD, gave him your CD. And he came back and taught a history lesson on what he thought he was teaching, a history lesson on hip hop.
Right. His interpretation of what
interpretation of hip hop. And I just thought that was just so influential because of you and your lyrics and my poor little friend in class. We exposed our history teacher to hip hop, to you.
Right.
And we went through the soundtrack, you know, we went through each track, and my teacher was like, at the time, maybe he was about 57. He was like, this guy right here, huge beard, glasses, this guy right here, he's a thinker. I love dissecting his rhymes. Where is he from? Brooklyn. Oh man, there's so much rich history there. I mean, he got into your head. And I'm thinking, he couldn't do that with a lot of albums.
I mean, I don't know what to say about that. That's dope. But we think it's like, for y'all to even trust to give him that album to listen to was, you understand? So, I mean, for example, you said, you know, this thing about ladies in hip hop. All this wouldn't exist if it wasn't for women and white people.
Can you preach it?
I mean, it's just the truth.
I paid for demos.
White people buy music, and the women are the ones who pump up the artists.
Hell yeah. Keep the clubs going, buying drinks at the shows.
Yeah. The colleges.
Shh. Packed.
College radio. That was the best thing on the planet. Like, and the worst thing when they took it away. And they knew what they was doing when they did that.
Yep.
Because college radio meant all the girls, you know, we say all the girls.
You can say all the girls.
And the white boys.
And the white boys.
And the white girls.
And the white girls.
Not the dudes.
Not the dudes. What is that?
I don't know why. We was too cool for school to pick up, why would I go to a concert with you and you chant? That's just machismo.
It is. It's whack as hell.
It's whack, but at the end of the day, if you sold records, is because
of women of all kinds,
women of color, and whitey.
Mm-hmm. And you closed up that point because he took that CD and did a whole damn dissertation on it.
Yeah, like they doing now.
Right. He was so intrigued by your words. And that your words could fit a freaking situation, a unique situation like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I want to see what else he has to say.
Think about it. Nas is like a frog in Harvard right now. They dissected him like they teaching a class on Nas, on hip hop, based around him and hip hop, and he's like a fraud to the establishment.
Absolutely.
Even though same thing with him. He talk how he rap, but his thing goes a little deeper. When you talk to him, it's like, damn, is he paying attention? Because he be high and he's so laid back and cool, but you like, damn, it's the same person that wrote Illmatic and this and that. But yeah, because we sit back and we observers before we move. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of us, and I'm not the only one. Like,
indeed.
I tell people all day, like, I'm not the only one. You know what I'm saying? I come from a crop, a certain era, and I don't like to say that because it sounds like we not old. We far from old.
So you're not old school.
Huh?
I said you're not old school.
We not old school.
No.
We not old. And it just tickles me, especially with younger people. Like, it's like, damn, so you're supposed to have fun at 20, get married, strap down at 30 and 40, you die? Like,
and you right, yeah, nah.
Where y'all mentality? Where y'all get this from?
That's that vanity. That's that, that secular thought process of, I got some gray hairs on my edges somewhere, and that does not. Hello, let me
look close. I got a gray hair in my.
Oh, that's so
eyebrow.
cute. It's cute.
I'm proud of my gray.
Listen, I'm starting to embrace them, but
yeah,
I'm a woman, so
well, you're a woman.
Took me a second.
It's a little different.
Took me a second.
For me, all day, like, I let it grow. It's gray. I don't care. I got patches, all that. I'm good with that.
Well, I mean, in essence, we're kind of like teenage parents. We're like, our lives imitate our art. We're young parents, so we're not old. Right. Our next generation of hip hop, our children, right? They are young, we are young, and we need to continue to teach each other, because when you talk about, the reparations inside of the reparations, like, as parents, we learned a lot of lessons at a young age in this business that we could have taught our children, routinely, but we didn't.
Right.
And now they're learning it, but they're smart. They're not dummies. They're not
dumb.
They're flipping that.
They're not dumb. I tell people all the time, I hear some people our age talking shit about them and wagging their finger at them, but it's like, we was their age. Like, so did I listen when somebody had their finger in my face? No. If they spoke to me, a way that I wanted to listen, I listened to them.
Exactly.
You can't grab a young person and be like, yo, if you do this, you're gonna die. They're not gonna listen to that. I don't care what, if you tell them you're gonna get killed doing, they don't care what you say to them.
They care less.
They're not hearing you. Like, you have to learn how to, anything that's going wrong, besides them being tech savvy in this era, is our fault.
And we have to take that, and we have
to take that.
We have to love them.
That's
everything, not just hip hop.
They they drug addicts. Well, that's our fault.
Hello.
That's our fault.
I mean, they doing different drugs. We were doing different drugs than our parents, and the same drugs with different names. They just got different names.
Yeah. I did my little dirt when I was younger, but like I said, man, like you have to let them explore. I mean, besides all the killing and shit, I wish I could snap my fingers and cut that out in Chicago, New York, Philly, wherever. Man. And I would lay my life down in a heartbeat for them. But a lot of stuff that's wrong is because we did it.
Do you think that we overdo the murder in our raps?
Of course. But hey, that's how you want to express. Cool. It's not cool, but hey.
Well, see, like you're a master storyteller, in my opinion. So, like, I don't feel like if you ever talk about murder or anything like that, and because you don't do it often, or it's more creative, let's just put it that way.
Right.
There's a story behind it, and there's a beginning to the story, and there's an end to the story.
Right. And sometimes it's raunchy, and sometimes it's. I mean, go ahead. You brought up Go Ahead. That's about a lesbian. A homosexual relationship.
Yeah, cheating on their man.
That was 94. Like
exactly.
You know, it was
kind
of
unheard
of upon back then. And that's the 90s. So
and that's the 90s.
Now it's like it's normal. It's normality, and some things for me is not normality. Whether I speak about it or not, I'm just like, I try to figure out the solution instead of doing this.
You just raised a little point. I could parallel how you said it wasn't normal to be, for in that instance, have a boyfriend and then cheat on your boyfriend with a woman. Right? That wasn't normal. Now it's normal. Now guys, hey, I bring your girlfriend to the crib. Like, let's do this. Right? Yeah. Just like the killing. Yeah. It was like really taboo, or you had to be like a gangster rapper to talk about killing, and it was okay. And now it's just normal. Talked about like so it's like normality. The times and the media and the machine have a lot to do with how easy it is for these messages to just come across and for folks to just be desensitized to them.
Don't take this wrong, but I applaud the devil. You know why?
Yeah.
He did his job.
The revelation.
He did his job. Like, I'm like, it's so many things that associated with normality, and I'll be looking at people like, but I don't judge. I just, like you said, I mean, I've seen, I know people who had different kind of relationships, but you wouldn't have known unless they told you.
Right.
And this is the 90s, but homosexuality has always been around. Killing, murder, everything has always been around, but I'm talking about us living in this day and time. I ain't talking about Julius Caesar's era. I'm talking about our era.
Right.
And that wasn't something that was normal. It was frowned upon. I ain't saying it's wrong, I ain't saying it's right, but it was frowned upon. So 2020, I can't even go on a site without seeing ass.
No, you can't.
That was harder to do back then, in the 90s. Oh, you see her ass?
Yeah, no, you're gonna see the ass. You might see it on Good Morning America. You might.
Yo, it's just so normal. Like, it's like, she's, it's even normal for me, but I have to, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, damn, man, like, you see pretty women, you see beautiful women, whatever, but just to see, the crotch cracked open and I'm like, yo, that's not normal behavior, man. It's just not normal behavior, and you know,
but again, you can't judge.
Yeah, if I had the solution to whatever, I would lay it out, but I don't, and I don't judge people. Absolutely. But I know something is off.
Something's definitely wrong right now. Something's wrong. But you're only responsible for you and yours, and you're not even responsible for yours.
For the moment.
Yeah.
Because here's what's going on right now. We in a trifecta of things that never happened at the same time. The economy, really, they're not saying it, but it's fucked up. Excuse my language.
You can say fuck all day long if you like.
The economy, we ain't had a pandemic since what, 1918 or 1912? And then you got the racism, which always
existed.
But now it's coming to
a head now.
To a head. And that's not normal.
No.
That's not normal. Like, I've never been afraid. I'm afraid now.
Of what the most?
Of how people would react, and like everything we see on TV. So, like you said off camera, we was talking about all the quarantine movies, right? And people going crazy, and people in panic breaking out, and these. We not far from that. We days from that. Literally right now. And people like, damn, I can't wait to go back to normal. And I'm looking at them like, your world is forever changed. It'll never go back to 2019, ever. Forget that year.
Forget that year, yeah, for real.
It'll never go back to what you believe it was a few months ago. Life has forever changed. And I can't fathom that because I don't know what's coming. But something's coming.
Something's coming.
And it's gonna show people's sides, people's humanity. Some people gonna kill, some people gonna embrace and help each other. But for the most part, most people are gonna be for self, which that's not how it should be, but it's just self-preservation.
Listen, I'm not even going to lie. You know, my father, shouts out to John Henry Fitch Jr. I love you, Daddy. My father always taught me to be prepared for violence.
Yeah.
He taught me how to get out of a chokehold. He taught me how to, protect myself. And he taught me how to shoot.
Right.
I'm just getting my arsenal up and my ammo up. I'm just going to the range with my girlfriends. They think it's cute. And I'm like, move over to the left a little bit. You know what I mean? No, this is not for the gram. This is for us.
Yeah.
We trying to survive right now.
Right. This is to protect yourself. Like, this is what it could be. Yo, we ain't had a civil war since when? 1812s, shit like that. Yo, everything that could possibly go wrong is actually a cocktail right now outside. It just ain't come together all at once. Three of them did so far: economy, pandemic, and the racism. But it's funny. Somebody said something on TV the other day. I was watching on YouTube, and it was like, the reason why you don't see too many blacks protesting is because we can't do what the white people doing through the bombs back at the pole. Like, we would be dead.
Right?
They would kill us.
Right?
The smoke bombs they throw at them, they throw back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We couldn't do that.
We couldn't do that.
They'd kill us.
But you got to be ready to die in a situation like this.
We ain't gonna live forever.
No. And honestly, it would be an honor for me to die protecting my family, myself, fighting for justice, fighting for what's right, not being a sucker, and not running. Like, but I'm not going to run.
Summer, we Black. We have no choice. This is in our DNA. It was in our DNA to be meek before. You know, one time or another, we wasn't afraid. It was just like, you know, we didn't know. Now it's like, you come in my house, or you come near me, or you touch my...
I'm coming at you.
You gonna die, or I'm gonna die.
But I'm not gonna be meek and...
Yeah, ain't no more of that.
That's
sorry. That's why I said it's a cocktail brewing. I don't know what's gonna happen. I can't tell the future, but people like, yeah, but that's negative. It's not negative. I'm just being
realistic.
A realist. I'm being a realist, and
wow,
you know, take it in or not. I'm like, well, I'm making more money from y'all streaming my music, being at home. And I know some of y'all don't have the money to be paying for music, but y'all still paying for it, and I appreciate it. But so what? It ain't nothing I can do with that money at this point.
Right.
The whole world is affected.
Absolutely. Are you thinking about, just to switch gears a little bit, but are you thinking about, you know, touring, or whether that's going to be a thing for you, or are you kind of off that in your mind?
Yeah, I'm off it. I'm off it right now. I don't see that happening for a while, a couple of years. Like, it even threw my game off to put out this next album. Like, you know, instead of me just talking about everything that's going on, that's cliche in my mind. I'm like, I could do that easily.
Right.
But I don't want to talk about what everybody knows already, and it's common. Like, we all know what's happening. People are about to be evicted. People are about to be kicked out of their homes. People are losing their jobs, or if they didn't lose it already. People are don't have food. People don't have, you know, it. So it's like, for me to talk about what's going on in the pandemic.
Right.
You know, my cousin is he's my muse. He like, yo, you gotta put something out. And I'm like, what I'm gonna put out? What I'm gonna talk about? He like, yo, you gotta talk about something. I don't wanna talk about what everybody knows already.
Right.
Because we all experiencing it.
Yeah.
You know, I wanna do the opposite, but I don't, you know.
But you have perspective. You have a different perspective than most about what's happening. You could open up some eyes through your music. You could. I'm just saying.
I could.
Maybe your cousin told me to tell you that. Maybe he told me to tell you that.
Or we could go to the volcano dancing. I'd rather go dancing.
I hear you. No, I feel you. I'm not even
dancing in a literal sense.
No, but, I know.
You know, I'm listening to, you know, I'm listening to 70s stuff right now. I ain't listening to nothing new.
Getting, feeling something.
Yeah. Like,
having a good day.
Alicia Myers and stuff like that. Like, that's where my head is at. As for this Simpson, like, you know, I'm taking myself back to my mom and dad's crib and BK, like, you know, they popping open the Miller Nips and
the Nips.
Yeah, like that's where my head is at. But my cousin, like, I don't know. I'm like, yo, it ain't always about, you know, you take advantage of the moment. Like, you do something that those people completely off and they with you.
Yeah. Well, we want to hear from you eventually, and this is a way to hear from you. I like to have conversations with folks that aren't, you know, so who's your influence? And, you know, like, I want to learn about where your head is at and what's
Right.
going on in your life, and kind of a little bit more about who you are. And I definitely can feel you on that. It's not
Yeah.
about, and in some ways capitalizing on people's fears or people's despair.
Yeah.
It's about kind of uplifting, having some fun, returning to love. Like when you said Ashford and Simpson, I know two of my friends who are on the verge of divorce that are now like fixed their marriage just because of what's happening around them, and them kind of getting back to what's really important.
Right.
So yeah, I can see why that's more important than putting out an album.
Yeah, I mean, and then on top of that, I'm not like everybody else, so
That's right.
Showbiz was trying to make me keep up, but he was like, yo, we gotta put these albums out, so I'm like, all right, cool. We put out Same Moon, Same Sun 3 years ago. Then after that, we put out New Dawn, and then I had Blood Moon coming, but then look what happened. So it was just like, I'm gonna do this at my pace from here on out. Right? I'm not putting out albums to keep up with people and keep up with the other artists and keep up with the younger artists. I'm gonna do this the way I want to do it, or I won't do it at all.
That's a common theme right now with a lot of the MCs that I follow, that, plenty of artists had projects in the works when this happened.
Yeah.
And I was actually watching a live Star. Shouts out to Star. I love her so much. She was going off about, like, I'm not doing an album just because y'all want to hear it. Like, and I appreciate you for wanting to hear me. But, and I call it a Sade rap. Like, she'll put something out when she feel like it.
Exactly.
And it's dope. And it's like, you have to let an artist be an artist. And you also have to respect that process. Exactly. And if you love them so much, listen to their old stuff. Listen to the old albums. Catch up on what they're talking about right now, because that'll actually give you some more insight on who they are. Like, I found out a lot more about you lately from your Instagram page, because you like, I'm off that rap right now. Like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Let me challenge your mind about this or that. And it's like, that's where, if you're a true fan or a supporter of someone, you want to understand the dynamics of them.
Right. Well, I tell people too, because people are like, damn, man, your Instagram numbers is low. And I'm like, how so? Like, you only got 34,000 followers. I said, listen, I can have probably 500,000 followers on Instagram, but they wouldn't be true followers. It's just accepting everybody. That's all that is. Ain't no algorithm in that.
Right?
So people like, I'm like, yo, the 35,000 people that are following me is true to what I'm, more or less what I'm pitching to them, like, or putting up on my page, or that's more true to the numbers of what, and that's not a little bit of people.
No, it's not. I don't even have 2,000 followers on Ladies Love Hip Hop, and guess what? I don't care, because I didn't get into this for followers.
That's what
I
I'm saying.
love hip hop. That's why it's called Ladies Love Hip Hop. And if you love hip hop, you're on the page. If you don't know about it, maybe you'll find out about it later. I don't know.
Exactly. And so many things got out of hand with the social media. Jay said 5 years ago, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And I never agreed with that shit. It was like, what? Numbers can be manipulated.
Hell yeah.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't is some bullshit. Men lie, women lie, and numbers can be manipulated.
So you can buy followers.
Exactly. Like I said, 34, I think my joint said 34.2. That's true to what I actually, that make more sense than 200,000 people. because 200,000 people only doing. Those are people who linked up because of the other people. So you subscribe to my Instagram, then somebody else did just because they didn't even check me out. Mm-hmm. That's how that happens with those numbers. So that ain't real numbers. Mm-hmm. It's just people punching a button and all right, then they don't even know you. Who are you?
Right. You gonna get to know them now. You hear this? You gonna know them today.
Yeah. So I'd rather do the album at. If it come out and never come out, cool. I got 13 albums.
Take your time. 13 albums is a beautiful number.
Yeah, and that's my birthday, 13. So I can either stop there or keep going.
Okay. I'm not gonna say anything about that because I'm not gonna encourage stopping. That's not what I'm doing for.
I'm gonna do this till the wheels fall off in my mind, but I don't want to do albums forever. You know, I think at some point I listen to some of our peers. Mm-hmm. Some people need to stop.
Hey, hello.
And when I feel like it's my, for me to time for me to stop, I'll stop.
Absolutely. Well, they're gonna be playing.
Has to tell me.
They're gonna be playing these records forever. I will say, your first album was my fave, but Trophies.
I did that before. Yo, let me explain to you about Trophies though. Trophies. Trophies been done. I ain't taking nothing from that project, right? Mm-hmm. But I did that before. I did that quite a few times. So, this is the story. Me and Apollo's story a little bit different, but it's more or less the same. I recorded that record in 10 hours. 10 hours. He picked me up from the airport in Detroit. Mm-hmm. And I told him I'm gonna knock out probably 7, 8 records. And then he was like, get the fuck out of here. And I was like, but here's the premise behind it, because people always glorify their story. I wrote the album, I wrote the songs months prior to it. So if I'm not prepared when I go out there to do these records, then I'm not professional.
Absolutely.
So I told him, I'm gonna knock 8, 9 records out in a couple of hours, and he looked at me crazy. He even bet me $500, which I didn't take his money. But the album was done the first night I arrived in Detroit, and we ended up doing an extra song, which was called, I think, Options.
Okay.
On Thursday, the day before I left. So he gave me the music to Options in the hotel. I wrote it that night and came back in the studio the morning of, I think, before I left or the day before I left. Mm-hmm. And the album was done. So the engineer was upset because he didn't get paid for 4 weeks.
For 80 days.
Yeah. And he was amazed at that shit. And I was like, yo, Boot Camp, Nas, J-Rule, Gangstar, Show and AG, Lord Finesse, you name them. Anybody from my era can do what I did. Mm-hmm. This ain't no trick bag. Like, no. We was brought up and raised that way making the music because it was expensive to be in the studio.
Absolutely. Hello.
Trying to waste time in the studio. So
it's called practice.
Right. Practice, perseverance, and I can't afford to waste money in a studio.
Absolutely not.
I took that mind frame, with me along, for years. Like, I never go and waste time in the studio. I don't bring guys to the studio with me, never had a crew with me. It was always me, producer, or me and the engineer. That's it.
Knock it out. Absolutely.
And Trophies, to me, I did it before though. I'm proud of the record, but it ain't nothing I ain't did before.
Whatever, still my favorite. Since you want to downplay it, that's my fave. I will say though, You guys is a lot of gems. I mean, 13 albums. I can name a billion songs that you've done that were amazing. Just as a body of work, I would say your first album, Trophies, are my two favorites.
Right.
And you know, Trophies was an album that I was able to push over to more women. A lot of ladies love that album that I know.
Yeah, I think, and that's dope. That's what's dope about music, because I would have thought you like Same Moon, Same Sun.
Oh, I love it.
I think that's more of an album that women can. It's more digestible, and I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I would never insult your intelligence, but I just think it's more digestible for anybody, and I think personally it's a better record to me. I try to explain to people, like, you know, the old creed, you age like fine wine, is true. Like,
oh, for sure.
So those records are, as of late in my catalog, Trophies, Same Moon, Same Sun, New Dawn, you know, those are like later in my career. Like now, you know what I'm saying?
That's more grown up.
More grown up.
You talked about a lot more adult, even though you always been, see, that's why I can't differentiate, because from the beginning, I felt like you were way ahead. So I always expect everything to be way ahead anyway. So it's just going to be just as good. But you definitely followed the protocol that a lot of us as consumers of hip hop and lovers of the culture want our artists to grow up with their music versus trying to stay where they became famous or using that same formula that made them successful. It's like, dude, grow up. Stop talking like that. Because what you're doing, that's the disservice. For me, that's the disservice, because if you early in the game we're talking about, you know, just say for instance, stealing and killing and shooting and robbing and and all of that stuff, and that could have been your reality. All right, cool. But you're like 47 now. Are you really still doing that? Or can you talk about like your cats or your wife or taking care of an aging parent or your stocks? Like, can you continue to share real stories with people? And that's why I gravitate toward you. Well,
I tell people all the time, I speak about everyday life. Well, at least my life. I can't speak on everybody else's lives, but we all reflect in some form or fashion with, you know, our day-to-day lives. So I speak about everyday life stuff, and people like, well, do you ever run out of content? Like, no, because I'm living and breathing. Like, there's too much to talk about. Like, you know, to put it in song form might be a little harder sometimes, but it's too much stuff to talk about for me not to have anything to talk about. Like, besides murdering, killing, hoes, humping, clothes, wine, champagne.
Wine.
Like, come on, man. Like,
right.
At some point, even the men and the female men and women who was into that back in the day, at some point is like, I don't want to hear that shit.
Yeah.
Like, talk some real shit.
Well, human evolution is something that is not always promised. It's always an option, but it doesn't always happen. Right. And I tend to gravitate towards people who can evolve, people who can, you know, like I respect it. I need it because I need to, you know, you always want something to kind of pattern yourself against, something to bounce yourself off of. And I just really appreciate that. You know, I appreciate that about you, because I don't want to hear a whole bunch of crap. And you know what? Some of my favorite artists, and I'm going to tell them to their faces, I love them so much, but I'm sick of them. I'm sick of them talking about the same thing. And I know they're talented enough to flip the script, but they just won't do it. And I'm just like,
Well, they caught up in the that's the machine side, like, and it's kind of hard to stop.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you got bills.
Making money, so to speak, like in their mind, like this is what works. So why break? Like, why break it?
Yeah.
If it's not broke, why fix it? Mentality, and it's just like
it's broke though.
Yeah,
it is broke.
Yeah, and I know you're capable of, you know, taking it somewhere else, and you just refuse to. You know, like I said, some artists to me is timeless. Some artists to me are, you need to stop. You know, like not that you fell off, it's just you sound dated, or you know, or
like stop and regroup.
Or stop and regroup. You know,
figure this out.
I've been doing this 20 plus years. I'm like, I got better. I don't, you know, I critique myself. I don't sound like, of course I don't, but I don't sound like 1994 I'm not trying to sound like 1994. You know, the first album was jazzy. You know, the second album was more gritty. The third album, people was like, oh, you trying to do your shiny suit shit. I'm like, huh? Like, what are you talking? You know, it's Star Child and, you know, Revolve, Evolve, Evolution, Revolution. I'm dealing with all of these things within myself.
Yeah.
Because you hit a crossroad. Everybody hits a crossroad at some point in their life where they're like, do I keep going? Do I figure out how to change myself? Do I figure out how to grow up?
Yeah.
Do I figure out how to be a better adult or a worse adult?
Or do I just stop thinking?
Whatever. Yeah, whatever you think. But you have to act on it. And, you know, I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. But that's what makes me who I am.
Well, we love who you are. So don't stop.
I love me too.
You sound like me. Get out. Get off my phone. So I think that it's safe to say for all the listeners and those who are going to actually watch this, it's safe to say, you know, OC hasn't gone anywhere.
Nope.
OC is still working behind the scenes, but OC is a real human being who has also been affected by what's going on in this world, and he's thinking. The thing that we expect him to do before he puts out a project, because we're used to thoughtful projects from him. If you miss him, just listen to his catalog. There's plenty to listen to.
Plenty.
Follow him on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
At OCDITC.
And you can see it below. Be right there. And just make sure that those artists that you truly respect and you know, have love for. You don't have to know people to love people, but that you have love for, you know, continue to encourage their growth, which doesn't mean that they're going to release something, but encourage their growth so that they may continue to evolve. And maybe one day,
as a human being,
bless you with something, you know, that's going to continue to help you in your journey. Because everything that you do helps us. You know, everything an artist does is a part of our backdrop and the soundtrack of our lives, you know, so.
In turn, you're a reflection of who I am. Like, it goes both ways.
My neighbor just decided to cut the grass.
See, it's everyday life. But it's see what I'm saying?
Do you know who I'm on the phone with right now?
Everyday life.
Well, is there anything that you would like to leave your supporters with before we wrap this up?
I'm glad you said supporters. I'm weird about the fan thing.
Me too.
So when you said that, you see, I was just like, I ignored it. I think people support me. Support me is a totally different bag from being a fan. I think fans flip on you. I ain't saying you'll flip, but I think people support artists no matter what. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful people stuck with me. new fans, older fans my age stuck with me. And on camera, I want to apologize for being an hour late.
It was our secret. Why did you say that?
Nah, I gotta give it up to you as a woman, as a person. Thank you.
Respect.
Thank you for living. And hopefully we'll do this again.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. I really do. And thank you for taking the time out to be with me today.
No time taken.
So you heard it here, folks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part. Please like, share, tell all your friends. I talked to OC. You didn't. Ha ha ha. But no, share this with all the hip hop heads out here who know what this gentleman here has brought to the music game, to the hip hop world. We thank you. We love you. We support you. And as always, I need all of my people to keep it hip hop, be safe, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Ladies love hip hop.